Hello, beautiful people. Long time no see. As you guys know, I have been very busy lately, and I was in Tech Week for my show for the past week. But the show that I was just in is over with, so I've got some time to breathe before I work on my next projects, and I finally have time to do this video for you. I have been waiting to do this video for a while. My notes have been prepared and I'm just now sitting down to do it. So this is going to be my review for you of Dancing Rabbit's book, The Way of the Horned God. The full title is The Way of the Horned God, A Young Man's Guide to Modern Paganism, as you'll see. And so right away you may ask the same thing that my mother asked, which is, why am I reading this book? If it's meant to be about paganism for young men, why am I reading it? And the first thing that I told my mother was, well, in the future I plan on having children. I may end up with a son who may want to learn about paganism, and so I thought that this would be a good way for a parent to approach that type of thing, and Dancing Rabbit actually talks about that in here. But also, as soon as I began reading it, I noticed that it really doesn't matter if you're female reading this book. There are a lot of things that you can get out of it, even though it is focused for males, which is a good thing because so many books are just focused toward females, and young men may feel that they're not welcome into paganism or that they just can't identify with it as well. So it's a very good thing in the first place that Dancing Rabbit has decided to do this book for young men, specifically for that purpose. But also, you shouldn't feel bad or weird about reading it if you're a female, because you can learn things from it too. So the first big thing that I noted about this book is that Dancing Rabbit points out pretty much straight away that paganism is a religion of doing. And it's not all about reading about the things and theorizing about the things and talking about the things, but it's actually about going out there and doing ritual, and it's about doing things day to day, and it's about taking action for the planet and for yourself and for your relationships with other people and for your life. It's about making things happen and not just talking about them. And that is something that stereotypically, I suppose, men like to get their hands dirty, and so it's a very welcoming kind of thing for men because they can just do it. And the way that Dancing Rabbit has formatted this book, he gives a lot of things to do right away, and that's the first thing I noticed, is that yes, he talks about it, he explains things, but there's also a lot of examples and samples of things and sample rituals. He also makes it very clear that we should not take his examples of things as the end-all be-all. Of course, he completely leaves it open to the fact that the reader may change his words to suit their own needs, or use him as a guideline and then move on from there and create your own rituals based on that. But he gives you the example. If you really don't know where to go, there are sample things to do right away, all the way through. There's something to practice. And I was just reading this book in between my classes, and I found myself, every time I got to one of those things, I wanted to put the book down and go and do that thing and experience it. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to do that as I was reading through the book because I was trying to read it in my free time so that I could have it done in order to do this review. Of course, I didn't do that quickly enough anyway, but I feel like if you were to read this book over a longer period of time and actually stop at each one of the points to do the ritual that he's explaining, as I believe he intends a young man to do, I feel like that would be such a good experience and such a good way to get through this book. To make a long story short, I really enjoyed this book and the way that it is set up and the way that he gives you things to do and gives you samples of things, especially since there are a couple things that I wrote down. I took notes, here are my notes, that I wrote down as I was going along. I was writing down sort of just what each chapter covers so that I could remember what is spoken about in each chapter, and it has a very logical progression. And then I also wrote down things like, oh, he used this little poem or chant or spell or whatever, and I really like the way that's worded. I'm going to write that down. And so there are several things on here that I have decided to adopt for myself, and I've actually used a couple of them so far that I just think are really cute little rhyming things that I just think will work really well with my practice. So there's already a couple things that I have adapted for myself. So I really enjoyed, I guess, the way that it's presented and the way that he gives you the information as, here's something you can do, take it and use it as you will. And I do think that it will be good for maybe non-pagan parents. Like, I would recommend that my mother read this. I would recommend this to a young man who was starting to learn about paganism. I would also recommend it to any of you who already know about paganism but are just looking for another viewpoint on it or anything like that, because I firmly believe that no matter how much you already know, you may not know what Dancing Rabbit knows. And so I do think that it is a valuable source for anybody. I think that you should take a look at it, definitely, and especially if you are a young man or have a young man in your life that could directly benefit from this, especially then, because that is who it was written for. But I do think that anyone else could also benefit from this. I think it's very well written, and I'm very glad that I was able to get a copy of this and do this review for you. And I know it's kind of short. I didn't really want to go too much into detail because I don't want to take forever, but I also want the book to speak for itself, and I think that I've given you a pretty good idea of the way I feel about it and why I enjoyed it. And it is a quick read. If you do just read right through it, you can get through it for maybe the entire overview of what the whole thing is about very quickly, and then easily go back and start over and actually do all of the things that he recommends for you, which I believe I will do probably over the summer when I have time. So yeah, I learned a lot from this book. There are a lot of things that I wanted to look up and follow up on, and some websites and other books that he recommended, and just things like that. So this is worth it. And I'm not just saying this because I know Dancing Rabbit and because he's a friend of mine or anything. I truly believe that he's done a very good job on this book, and I congratulate him on his success in getting this published. And I hope that the rest of you will find it as helpful as I did and as interesting. So young man or parent or not, if you're interested in it, go and check it out. I do recommend it. Thank you guys very much for watching. I apologize for not having this video up even sooner, but hopefully this review helped you. And if you've already read the book, go ahead and leave me a comment and tell me what you thought of it. Tell me what your favorite part was. Tell me how you like the illustrations, anything like that. And Dancing Rabbit, you're welcome for my doing this review, and thank you so much for making your book available to all of us. I hope you all have a fabulous day, and I will see you next time. Blessed be.